I would guess that anybody's definition of specialty malts would certainly include those malts which are considered as coloured malts. So I'll start by taking us through their nature and their manufacture. We can split coloured malts out into three main groups on the basis of how they're manufactured. The first group are those that are produced on a conventional malt kiln from green malt. The second group are also produced from green malt, but this time the malt is directed into a roasting drum rather than going to the kiln. And the third group of products are produced from kiln-dried malt or from unmalted grain, again in the roasting drum. So let's start with those which are produced on the conventional kiln. This requires some alterations to the kilning process to make the malts which would be termed Vienna and Munich. Kilning conditions are optimised for the formation of colour and flavour compounds. Vienna malts are typically cured in the 90 to 95 degrees centigrade temperature range, with resulting colours typically in the range of 6 to 10. For the Munich malts, the final curing temperature is higher, exceeding 100 degrees centigrade, resulting in the colours shown on the slide. So what attributes do these malt types apply to beer? Well, they give some rich malty flavours. We've pushed the malting process on harder, generating lots of flavour and colour compounds, so they can be providers of richer malty flavours to beer. And there's also a spectrum of colour opportunities, from light golden through to orange-red hues. These malts can be used in a high percentage within the grist, up to 100% in some cases, and they're used in such products as amber and dark lagers. Our next group of coloured malts require the use of a roasting drum to achieve the process conditions necessary to obtain the level of colour and flavour associated with that particular product range. This slide shows the appearance of crystal malts of increasing colour levels. These grains have been cut using a tool called a farinator, which allows you to look at the level of crystallisation. Crystallisation is a key attribute of crystal malt, and it should be homogeneous, and all grains should show the glassy appearance seen here. For the low colour Cara malts, they can be used to add body to beer and without significant impact on colour and flavour. The higher colour Caras are typically used in lighter beers, where they can be used to provide a level of colour and flavour as required, whereas the high colour crystal malts provide sweet, toffee, caramel flavours, and again a whole range of colour possibilities here, from golden through to deep red is possible with the addition of crystal malt to the grist. The final grouping of coloured malts are those products produced from dry raw material, which could be kiln malt or it could be raw barley. The colours of these products extend from amber malt through to black malt and roast barley, with flavours from dry and biscuity through to bitter and astringent. These products are made by directly heating the grain within the roasting drum. For the lower coloured amber and brown malt, product temperatures will reach around 130 to 180 degrees centigrade, with a process time of around 1 hour. For the higher coloured black malt and roast barley products, temperatures within the roasting drum are getting pretty close to the combustion temperature of the grain. This requires water quenching and skilled roaster operators to ensure a usable product and not a quantity of charcoal is the end result of the process. Process times are typically 2 to 2.5 hours. Regarding production of coloured malt, this is on the rise again in the UK, fuelled by the global demand, especially from the craft brewers. Nearly 50% of the UK's coloured malt production is now exported, and supply globally remains tight. Clearly, barley is the globally predominant malted cereal, but significant quantities of malt are made from wheat, from oat, and from rye. These malts bring their own distinctive attributes to beer in terms of mouthfeel, colour, and flavour. Rye malt in particular is currently very popular. In addition to pale malt production, wheat and rye also lend themselves to the production of crystal and roast malt variants. If you consider malting to be the managed partial germination, then other cereal grains can be malted to produce a brewing raw material. An example of this is the use of gluten-free grains. It is estimated that some 5 to 10% of the population may have some level of gluten intolerance. The production of gluten-free beers is on the rise and provide products that can be drunk without adverse reaction. A range of gluten-free grains are available both raw and malted and are being used, with sorghum probably the most widely used at the moment. So now it's time for the history lesson. So we're going to talk about heritage barley varieties. So 50 years ago, the first commercial crop of Maris Otter was in the ground. Maris Otter had been bred by Dr. Bell and his team at the Plant Breeding Institute in Cambridge from a remit laid down in the mid-1950s. And Maris Otter was the first UK winter malting variety with true malting quality. Well, Maris Otter is perceived as the variety for the production of classic English ales and has a reputation for producing flavoursome malt that is trouble-free to brew with, making it a favourite of the craft brewing industry. It is perceived to have particular flavour attributes, and certain craft brewers credit Maris Otter with providing their success. Other specialty malt types have specific novel traits. Proanthocyanidin-free barley varieties have their origins in the 1970s, but ongoing breeding programs continues this trait into currently grown varieties. These varieties do not contain the reactive polyphenols, which can contribute to chill haze and permanent haze formation when in combination with the complex proteins found in beer. As a consequence, beers brewed with malt made from proanthocyanidin-free barley does not require extensive cold conditioning or the use of chemical colloidal stabilisation to reduce polyphenol or protein levels. Flavour stability in such beers is excellent, and indeed less astringent flavours have been noted due to the lack of polyphenol. A trait required of barley varieties approved in the UK for distilling is now that of null or zero glycosidic nitrile content. The presence of heavy heterodendrin in distilling malt can ultimately lead to trace levels of ethyl carbamate in distilled spirit, and as such, the distilling industry is moving fully to non-GN containing varieties. So let's briefly look at some other specialty malt types. So, traditional floor malting. This takes us back to an earlier time when towns would have had a brewery and a maltings. There were some advantages to floor malt. It's a very flexible process in terms of time, batch size, what you can malt on the floor. So there's a lot of flexibility. There's low capital cost. I think most floor malt is now fully depreciated due to their age. And there's heritage. We hear a lot about heritage. We've spoken about heritage varieties. There's some nice stories to be told around heritage recipes, varieties, and the use of floor malt in particular products. But clearly there must be disadvantages to floor malting, or else we'd still be floor malting and not using modern pneumatic, automated stainless steel plants. And clearly, yes, there are disadvantages. First one is you need people to operate them. You need floor maltsters. There's high energy consumption through kilning. There's very low output. We would never achieve the quantities that the global industry requires if we were still making malt on traditional floors. And we have limited ability to control the process. Peated and smoked malts have a place in distilling and brewing. Global demand for peated malts for use in whisky distilling is increasing. Where once peat would have been the fuel used to fire the malt kiln, today peat is burnt separately and the peat smoke ducted into the drying airstream. Peat smoke is high in phenolic compounds, which are deposited on the malt in the kiln and ultimately end up in the distilled spirit and provide the character of many well-known Scotch whisky brands. Burning wood chips rather than peat can give malt a smoky flavour, and your choice of tree can provide some differentiation, with oak and beech being most commonly used. These lightly smoked malts inevitably have a vanilla flavour and also hints of honey about them. Organic food is big business, and there is a requirement for organic malt. Legislation in many countries govern what can be termed organic, and the whole production process, from seeds through to finished malt, is strictly controlled to ensure full compliance to the required standard.